Good evening, and thank you for attending. My name is Natalie Sayre, and I'll be the moderator for this evening's debate. Before we begin, please silence all phones and electronic devices. Additionally, please refrain from any interruptions to the debate as it is being recorded for on-demand viewing and post-captioning services. The Citizens Clean Election Commission is the sponsor for this evening's event. The Clean Elections Act is a campaign finance and public education measure initiated by Arizona citizens and passed by voters in 1998. The system provides clean funding for qualified participating candidates who agree to abide by the Clean Elections Act and rules. These include contribution and spending limits, foregoing special interest money, and participating in commission debates. We encourage audience questions, so please utilize the note card given to you when you entered the room and hold it up. Our volunteers will pick up the cards and deliver them to me. If you need additional cards, just raise your hand. We screen questions for clarity to eliminate duplications, speeches, or personal attacks on candidates. The debate is scheduled for 30 minutes, so we may not get to all audience questions, but we will do our best. Tonight's debate includes 2 minutes for your opening statement, 2 minutes to answer each question, and 2-minute closing statements. We ask that you remain polite to our candidate and give him a fair and uninterrupted hearing, no matter how strongly you may agree or disagree with what's being said. Tonight's participant is Mr. Randy Miller, a Republican candidate for State Senate in District 21. Mr. Miller, will you start your opening remarks, please?
Thank you. My name's Randy Miller, and I'm running for State Senate for LD 21. I moved here in 2005 with my son, who I'm happy to say just graduated from high school. I'm a retired senior deputy probation officer, and I've witnessed the sadness and hurt in our communities and the need for government to be more effective in how they distribute their services and in cutting waste and abuse of taxpayers' money. I'm running because I have concerns about what I'm seeing that we're doing to ourselves. It appears government's lost sight of their function and purpose, and they continually look to us, the taxpayers, you and me, as a cash cow to continue their funding, and then balk when we talk about accountability. I'm running also because I've seen a lack of constitutional integrity and knowledge on many of our legislators. The national popular vote is an example of this. Unfortunately, my opponent, who's not here tonight, and many others co-sponsored and voted for the national popular vote, which is unconstitutional and a destructive force to our state, our country, and you as an individual. I believe I can bring a balance and constitutional integrity to Arizona to lead us forward and away from the socialist destruction of our freedoms and liberties that so many people choose to come here for from all over the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Our first question this evening is from our audience. So you started to mention the national popular vote. Would you like to elaborate on your position around the national popular vote and why?
Article 2, Section 1 outlines how we elect our president, and it is by electoral college. The national popular vote is not through electoral college, it is by the national popular vote, which is a democracy. We are a republic, not a democracy, a socialist democracy. Each state has sovereignty, and is given sovereignty through our choice of vote. It doesn't go anywhere else. If we choose to elect Daffy Duck as president, all our electoral college votes go to that. It doesn't matter where anybody says. That preserves our sovereignty as a state and our vote and our voice. You take it away when you go to a national popular vote. The national popular vote is also unconstitutional because the Constitution says that Congress shall guarantee a Republican form of government. You can't have both, and actually our Constitution is the only thing that holds us together as a people, and our vote is our voice and should not be given to anybody else. I'll leave it at that.
All right, thank you. Question about education. Did you support the $100 million unfunded mandate from the governor for education? This is an audience question.
No, I did not. The reason for that is the local jurisdiction, if I understand the question correctly, where they're talking about the pay raise, to the teachers. Our Constitution, Article 1, or Article 11, Section 1, talks about the funding for the state education, and that came from us by mandate through our, when we became a state. And we're supposed to guarantee equal and education throughout. We fund this based on per student funding. We give this to the local districts, who then decide how they're going to distribute it. The local school districts make the decision because they have the contract with the teachers, not the state, not the governor. The contract's at the local level, and the local level decides where that money goes. If they have an issue on pay, it should be going to the local jurisdictions, which is the school districts and the school boards. That way, their voice will be heard with those who make a decision. For the governor and the legislature to vote for this under pressure during an election year is a manipulation of the system and our teachers and our students to get an agenda forward that should not be put forward in the location that they did it. State and legislators and the governor should not be used as a sounding board for their agenda and take it to the local jurisdiction. They have the control. Do the teachers need a pay raise? They do. But there also needs to be some accountability with that, because our teachers, Peoria School District has less than 50% of our students that graduate can pass the Ames test in science and language arts. Under 60% do well in math. So we're having subpar participation and graduation from our students in their abilities. There should be some accountability as well.
Thank you. So this question came from the web, and you referred to the Arizona Constitution. There's an article that states that higher education should be as free as possible. As a legislator, what would you do to accomplish this?
That is also in our Constitution, you're right, under Article 11, that secondary education should be as free as possible. I honestly can't answer that on my own because I don't have the information on just how that process would work, but it is very expensive to get a secondary education, and it's the student loan process and the debts that our students get into is destructive for their future, and it should come down. How I would address it, that's a good question. I haven't put a lot of understanding in how that process works, but it does need to be looked at, and I can't disagree.
Okay. This is going to go to technology and states' rights. What is your position on states writing proactive laws for new industries like autonomous vehicles?
Technology's always been a benefit to the country. We have an issue, though, when we talk about some of the sources that these technologies use to operate. When we're talking about self-driving cars, when we're talking about the new 5G technology, those are EMFs, electromagnetic frequencies, and it's a microwave. Those have effects on the people on a cellular level, according to the research and the presentations I've been given on this. And we need possibly to take a little bit of a step back and see if this is a safe technology for the people to be having, and understand the background of how this is working. 5G technology is operating anywhere from 20 to 80 gigahertz. The military has developed a weapon that is 90 gigahertz for a 1 second burst. It causes confusion. People can fall to the ground, makes the body feel like it's on fire. And we're going to be exposing society and our people to 20 to 80 gigawatts of this radiation, microwave radiation in our communities. And they're putting these 5G cell towers. The legislature last year just passed legislation that allows the companies to put these cell towers on top of our light poles because it's a power source. And they're going to be everywhere. And it's a short wave 10 millimeter transmission, so it has to go frequently, and we're exposing our communities to constant electromagnetic frequencies, microwaves above 26 gigahertz which is high, and that's what I believe Verizon has just sought a permit for. So if we're going to constantly have an exposure to that kind of frequency, anywhere from 26 to 80 gigahertz below the military weapon size, we need to take a look and see what we're doing to ourselves.
Okay. What are your views on the taxation of digital goods?
Frustrating. It seems like every time we turn around, they want to tax. Anywhere they can make money to tax us, it takes away from the freedoms and liberties of the people. You hold society down when you keep taking from them. And I don't think it's right. Digital technology, digital information and stuff, it's ours. It's our right. And every time you turn around and tax it, the government has to track their taxing base. They have to find formulas for taxing it. It costs them money to tax it. It's a burden. We already have over 80,000 pages in the tax code. It's ridiculous. I think we need to. I don't agree with taxing digital technology.
So let's do a follow-up question on taxation. What would you do as a legislator to simplify taxes?
We have, I believe, 4 income tax bases in Arizona, and we pay all of them. We pay 2.4% if you're 0 to 24,000, and then it goes 2.8 or 3, and so we pay all those, and up to a certain point, and then we pay an additional if you're married or single, based on a certain amount over 50,000. It's restrictive to the people, again, because we have I moved here for a low tax base from California. If you've been to California or lived there, you know what I'm talking about. We are losing that, and that's one of the reasons I said I'm concerned about what we're doing to ourselves. We've got to get control over government spending and stop asking for more blood from you and me so they can function without accountability.
Okay. So we're going to do a prison question now.
Okay.
So what do you think the legislature should do to decrease prison recidivism, and what role might vocational training play?
I'm glad you asked that. I have a lot of experience in the criminal justice system. We ask our prisoners to do their time. Some of them get high school diplomas in there, some of them get college degrees. Some of them come out and they don't have any benefits from being in there. We need to have educational systems for our prisoners that give them the skills and trades that they need to be integrate back in society. But we also have to stop restricting their ability to do so. Their right to vote, for instance, we label them because they've committed a crime, and we take away their rights as a citizen, which legally we can't do. The 15th Amendment says a citizen's right to vote shall not be infringed. If they get convicted and go to prison, why are we taking their right to vote when they come back? And then stigmatizing them, say, now you got to integrate back to society. We've labeled them, we've restricted their abilities to do so, and we've not allowed them to become back as part of American society because they can't get jobs. If we're going to give them the training, we have to allow them the opportunity to use that training without being stigmatized when they return.
Okay. So DACA, the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, what is your position on providing in-state tuition rates to DACA individuals?
They're not citizens. It's a political sensitive question, but I don't believe that our laws can be politically compromised. I think they should not be given in-state tuition because they haven't been here legally. But they do deserve, if they're going to be here, it's ridiculous, I think, to say we're just going to send them all back. We have to come up with a system that allows them to, once they apply for legal residency, and they've spent their 2 years under that legal residency through their application, and they become eligible, that's one thing. But just as a standard saying, well, you've been here illegally, you've lived here 8 years or 10 years, so we're going to give it to you, isn't fair to those that have been here under the system of legal applications to be a citizen or legal process to be a resident, or the citizens themselves. It's not fair to those that have paid and earned that status to then just give it because they were brought here, unfortunately, through the criminality of their parents.
Okay. So what do you think the legislature should do to protect Arizona borders?
The state of Arizona has a right and a duty to defend their border under the Constitution. The state of Arizona, the National Guard, the governor is the commander-in-chief of our National Guard until they are called into duty by Congress. So the governor has a right and a responsibility to deploy our National Guard if we feel the threat and the need to do so from invasion and trespass on our property. And that's what he should do.
Okay. What's your position on the Second Amendment?
The Second Amendment says that a well-regulated militia necessary for the defense of a free state, the right of the people to possess and bear arms shall not be infringed. Shall not. The purpose of the Second Amendment is just that, to protect, ensure a free state. It's there for a reason. Our founders, it's not there so you can go hunting. It's not there to defend against an aggressive neighbor that you feel is in threat. Yes, that's part of the right that we have, and it's a tool for that, for your defense. But the main purpose of the Second Amendment is to defend our state, to maintain a free state from an oppressive government or from invasion, and that's why it's there, and that's why we need it.
Okay. And so with the Second Amendment and the rash of school violence that's happened in the nation, what do you think the legislature should or could do around school safety and still ensuring Second Amendment rights?
I'm glad you asked that. Since 1994, Arizona's had legislation on the books that allows for additional funding for resource officers or probation officer with the schools. Part of that is a component where it's mandated in order to receive these additional funds, the schools have to come up with an educational system on civics and being a law-abiding citizen to our students. And I don't know of any of our schools that have actually participated in that program. So it's a two-way street. What are our schools doing to ensure the safety of our students with available resources that's there for them? The other thing is why we have to look at why are we having all this violence? What's going on in society that is causing this since the year 2000? We had one mass shooting in 2000. The last 2 years we've had 50. Yeah. What's going on to cause this? We're looking at the weapon and instead of the person. 20 years as a probation officer dealing with people and seeing the progression of what we're having. There's something else going on. Could it be the lack of destruction of morals and values in Hollywood and the glorification of violence in Hollywood every time you turn the TV on? Or the glorification of violence on our video games where our children are allowed to get extra points for the most people they can run over with their vehicle, and they now get points to upgrade their car, or get more points for villainizing people on the streets. I'm talking about Grand Theft Auto. There's other games out there that we're not doing right by our children by allowing them to practice violence and then not take responsibility for our part as an adult to control this.
So we have had some new audience members join us. I would like to remind you that you do have the option of still submitting questions. We have about 10 more minutes of questions, so if you have a question, please just hold it up and our volunteers will get it to me. So let's talk education a little bit. What is your position on charter schools and educational vouchers?
Well, that's under the Constitution as well. Charter schools are a public education system. They should be treated equal under the publication system, and they should also be held accountable in the same standards as public education. I believe they're exempt from a lot of things in ARS 15 or Article 15. of the statutes where the public schools, the traditional public schools are not. I think I like charter schools. We have to have competition among our school system. If a family feels that they're going to get better education, even in the poor communities, why would we disallow any family? If they think a school can provide better education for their child, they have that right and that obligation to provide that to their child. And the money that they're paying in taxes to the state is for their education. And if they choose to go to a charter school, they have a right to do that and should be allowed to do that. But the charter school also should be held to the same standards under the state statutes for education.
Okay. So what do you think that the legislature can do with respect to educational funding?
I think a good start would to look at the districts. We have 227 or 230 school districts. That's a lot of school districts. We could consolidate those. The average salary of a superintendent is about $170,000. Just for example, if we cut that in half, that $170,000 is about $42 million. If you take 227 school districts, cut it in half, you got $22 million. The other thing is we got to stop looking at state public land trust as we can rob Peter to pay Paul in public education. The funding sources first need to be looked at the local level. The funding is there, they get 54% of the state budget goes to education, with the majority of that going to K-12. We need to look again at the local level, the districts. We have too many, and we need to look at their funding. They do not show us what they spend at the local level, just generalities. They should be showing us what they spend each department. There's transportation, there's operations, there's maintenance, facilities maintenance, there's administration. What do they spend in those departments? How many positions do they have? Many times a department, and I know this from experience, we have 400 teachers. What they don't tell you is we have 50 vacancies, but they're budgeted for that. And then when it's time to make cuts, they say, well, we cut 25 positions. Well, 25 positions of vacant positions that aren't filled anyway. They got to show the people, be more transparent at the local level before we look at more funding. We need to know what they're spending. Otherwise, the people can't decide how much more to give them if they don't know what it's going to.
So then let's talk jobs. We have education, and then hopefully you have employable people coming out of the educational system. So if elected, what steps would you take to continue diversifying the Arizona economy, and what sectors would you focus on?
Not everybody wants to go to higher education. I think what we need to do more in our trades, developing our trades, working with the trade schools we have like WestMech. It's an excellent option for people. It gives them immediate skills when they complete their training, and they don't have to go into a higher level education that's very costly and expensive. I support expanding or working more diligently to get more trades in here, working with companies that need these trades, because if we can provide trades with companies that are viable to come here and fill immediate spots with those, it's a plus for our economy, and it keeps them here. Many times they go to a higher education, they get their trade or their education, and they go to another state. Well, we've funded that education, and then they leave. With trades and those options available, with working with companies coming in to support those positions they need through trade training, we can keep more of the skill here and create the jobs that we need.
So if you look at industries that you would want to attract to Arizona, what industries as a legislature should we be looking at? And what do tax breaks and things like that, how did that figure in?
Well, the industries that are proposed to come here now are, I believe, Apple and IBM, the IT companies. Those are good companies to have here. We have educational programs that help support those. When you're talking about tax breaks to these companies, that's difficult for me to accept on a large basis, because you're giving away privileges to large companies because they're large, but you're not offering it equally to a smaller business. I was a small business owner. I didn't get those tax breaks because I didn't offer what the state thought was a benefit to them. But tax breaks, there are ways that we need to do that through permitting processes, expediting their permits. There are things that we can do to assist them with infrastructural development to make sure that they can come here effectively.
Okay, so let's talk about small business. 2 years ago, the population of Arizona voted in mandatory minimum wage increases as well as paid time off. So what impact do you think that has had on small businesses?
Well, the reports I've read and stories I've read just out of Washington State that had $15 an hour tax base, many small businesses were forced out of business. Our introductory businesses are just that, the jobs for kids coming out of high school and stuff. They're an introductory opportunity for people to learn a skill, socialize themselves, and learn responsibility without the expectation that they have to support themselves. When we're mandating that every business has to pay, it's not government's position to mandate what a business should pay their employees anyway. That's not a role of government. The role of government is to protect individual rights, and the power of government comes from the people and is inherent in the power of government is inherent in the people. That's what they're there for. When we have a free market society, if a business is doing well, they can afford to pay their business well. They can pay their employees well. They can give them the benefits they need. Sure, there should be some minimum that people have to pay, but when we start mandating higher level, you're taking away the purchasing power of the business and the employees, because everything is reciprocal. You raise the prices for the cost of employees, you're raising the price of the goods and services that they produce. It's a never-ending cycle. Let the power of free market operate without government interference.
Okay. Next question around water, looking at Arizona long-term. What do you think the legislature should do to protect water and water rights in Arizona?
Water is a problem. The Colorado River has been ravaged for our water supply. We share it with Nevada, California, and Arizona. The Lake Mead is at dangerously low levels. We all love our recreation. I love recreation. A golf course is right behind my back patio, so I love seeing the grass and watching the golfers occasionally get my house hit, but I don't like that. But a lot of water is used with that, and we don't have the resources. The 100-year water scam that they put out to us is just that. They can't keep continuing. All they have to do is sign a document that they have a water supply for the next 100 years for this development. We need to I suggest that we have more desert-scape landscaping of all new developments. My development, people have grass in there, and it's a lot of water. We spend $5,000 a month just to water our grass, and I see it going all the way, evaporating away, and our grass still isn't green. We need to have more desert landscaping, cut down on the water resources for our recreational use if possible, and more water reclamation. I know the city of Avondale has an excellent program where they have communities with lakes. Those are actually used for groundwater recharging. It works very well. We could have more of those programs. There's programs in the community partnering, public-private partnership with our universities to get our kids to work on these issues. We have a lot of bright students going into the system of our education, and they want to work to fix these things. We can have more incentive programs to work on that, because water is going to be a main problem throughout many states. It's a resource that we live on, and we're wasting it.
So the last question before we go into your closing comments. What distinguishes you from your opponent, and what should the electorate really know about choosing you over your opponent?
Well, the difference in me is I'm here for the people. I understand the freedoms and liberties that we have they've done nothing but help us to be economically driven. They've helped us to build our ideas and technology, and they've allowed people to expand culturally and civically in our society. I'm here to preserve that, not take it away. I'm here, I understand the sovereignty of the state, the sovereignty of the people. I don't understand everything, but no legislator does. When we're talking about the water, I understand we have a problem. And you have to have a willingness to pull people together, recognize the talents that each individual or group has in specific areas and bring them in to work on these issues. Being a leader is serving the people, a servant leader, and recognizing we have a problem and talking to people saying, we need to fix this together, not cutting each other up through political rhetoric and stirring up problems. I'm a leader in that I'm constitutionally minded. I was a supervisor in the probation department, training and educating staff to work in dangerous situations. I've been an instructor for arrest and control and armed defensive tactics. I've had gang caseloads, sexual offender caseloads. I worked county probation and parole, electronic monitoring. I understand how the system interacts with the public. I've been there, I've done that, and I've seen the problems and the mistakes made through its application and how we can make it better. My opponent doesn't have that experience. My opponent is voting for the destruction of the country through the national popular vote, stripping us of our sovereignty, stripping us of our independence, and making us a socialist democracy, which we are not. I will preserve these important things.
All right, thank you, Mr. Miller. And now your closing statements.
Well, like I said, I'm here for the people. I'm not a politician. I'm just like you. I'm a citizen. I'm a concerned citizen. I have a family. I've seen and witnessed things in my career that have woken my eyes to the problems that are really there that we're not addressing. And I'm here to work for the people, servant leadership. I'm not here to preserve a career in politics. I'm not here to preserve my face in the public as far as I want your popularity. I'll be honest with you. I will answer your questions and I'll address problems as best I can. And if I don't have an answer or can't address those, I think a servant leader is someone who brings those in that can fix those problems or work on those as a group and then provide oversight and feedback when we need it. My opponent, I think, has not been very good at doing that. He's been a career politician. He's been in 7 years. If you want to have an opportunity to have term limits, this is it. If you want an opportunity for term limits, you can vote somebody new in. And I have a phone number I'll give everybody. It doesn't change. You can call me anytime, because if I'm elected, I will be your representative, and I will not be there to just give you lip service. I'll be there for your interest and for our interest as a state. Thank you.
Thank you so much for participating this evening. We appreciate your thoughts and your time. And to our audience members, we thank you all for all those who braved the storms and took the time to come out and inform yourselves before voting. We encourage you to visit www.azcleanelections.gov/voter dashboard for a customized experience to find information on the primary election, the candidates, the issues, and to view this debate on demand. Please fill out the evaluation form and return it to one of our volunteers. Your feedback is important to the Commission and will help us improve future debates. Thank you all for coming tonight, and you're welcome to stay and speak to our candidate. Thank you.
Thank you.